Hello, I'm Joan Retman, Area Community Relations Director at the Gardens at Town Square. Thank you for attending today's presentation, Vitamins and Supplements, Helpful, Harmful, or Hype. Before we begin, I'd like to share with you just a few words about the Gardens at Town Square, which is one of 8 premier retirement communities owned and operated by Era Living, which is a locally owned and operated company for the past 34 years. The Gardens is a lovely retirement community consisting of independent living with the ability to add assisted living services into the same apartment that you originally moved into. The Gardens is really just the perfect size of 142 apartments plus 26 private apartments within the terrace at the Gardens, which is our special memory care neighborhood. We are conveniently located near downtown Bellevue and just steps away from local favorites like the French Bakery, Cielo's Mexican Restaurant, the Bravern Shops, and also the Bellevue Public Library. We are also just minutes from Bellevue Square and medical centers like Overlake and Kaiser. The Gardens is known for its feeling of independence and vibrancy, our relationship with the University of Washington and the lifelong learning focus, its warm hospitality and lovely amenities, including one of the brightest and most cheerful dining venues around, plus a serene private garden courtyard, which is our little oasis right here in the city. You'll find a wide variety of newly renovated apartments, including studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom options as well. And now I am so honored to introduce our speaker for today's event. We are so pleased to have Dr. Abby Winter join us today to help us unravel the mystery around vitamins and supplements. For instance, what evidence is out there to support the use of them? How do you choose between all of the options? Are there special considerations specifically for seniors? Dr. Winter is a licensed pharmacist and clinical assistant professor at the University of Washington School of Pharmacy and serves as the director of outreach for the Plains Center for Geriatrics. She also leads the educational, clinical, and outreach efforts for the University of Washington School of Pharmacy at all Era Living communities. Welcome, Dr. Winter. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I am going to share my presentation today, which is, as she mentioned, about vitamins and supplements. So thank you all for joining. One other thing I wanted to highlight, June mentioned that I work as the UW pharmacist that's affiliated with Era Living. And I think that's one of the unique opportunities for folks who live at Era Living is we have a strong partnership with multiple schools in the health professions at UW. So we provide presentations, education, consultations, things like that. And we have a student presence as well, just to make sure that we're providing the best care we can for our older adult population. So today we're going to talk about vitamins and supplements. A quick overview of what the presentation will look like. We'll talk about questions to ask yourself when choosing whether or not you take a product. If we do deem that it's appropriate, how do you select a vitamin or a supplement? We'll look at some of the media attention and different advertising that surrounds our herbal products and supplements, and a few recommendations for vitamins and minerals that older adults may need. A quick note, I wanted to thank a pharmacy student of ours, Michelle Wynn, who helped with developing a portion of this presentation as well. So let's look at dietary supplements. So as we age, you may be a little more concerned about your diet. Are you getting enough of certain nutrients? Do you need to supplement your diet? What products do you use? What is a dietary supplement? Can I just take a multivitamin? Is that going to be enough? So I want to delve a little bit deeper into dietary supplements in general. So what is a dietary supplement? It's a product that contains a quote unquote dietary ingredient, which is meant to provide additional nutrients to your diet. So it's kind of simple in its explanation, but know that dietary supplements can contain vitamins, minerals, amino acids, herbs, enzymes, a lot of different things to supplement your diet. So the name is quite fitting. There are different formulations for dietary supplements. We can see pills, powders, bars, liquids. There's a lot of different options there. And currently over 85,000 types of dietary supplements sold in the United States. So that can be pretty overwhelming. Dietary supplements are not intended to cure, treat, or prevent illnesses or diseases, and they aren't allowed to claim that they do so either. However, a lot of different manufacturers may try to get close to these claims. So we need to be savvy consumers. We also have to be cautious because these are different from some of our over-the-counter drug products. So like cough, cold, allergy, pain medicines, which can treat symptoms of a cough or a cold, or can treat your allergies. But we need to notice that dietary supplements cannot do that. So here's a few things I want you to think about, whether or not you think this may be true. We know that a lot of people believe that dietary supplements are proven safe and effective before they end up on store shelves. A lot of people think if I walk into the pharmacy and something's on the shelf, clearly it's safe, clearly it's effective, it must work. But dietary supplements do not need to be proven safe and effective before they're marketed to the public. This is pretty scary. And we have ways that we can make sure that we stay safe, but it's important to know that just because something's out on the shelf and has made it to the market does not mean it's safe and does not mean it's effective at whatever it's claiming to do. Ask yourself, yes or no. Do dietary supplements undergo FDA approval the same way that over-the-counter drugs and allergy and pain medicines do? Because I'm asking it like this, you're probably thinking no, and that's the correct answer. Dietary supplements do not need to be tested in clinical trials. They are not undergoing the same type of scrutiny or the same type of efficacy studies that our over-the-counter drug products do, because they are not drugs. Do manufacturers of dietary supplements, are they required to put safe warnings on their product labels? They are not required to put safety warnings on product labels. Many of them do, and there are some caution warnings that we will see on products, but nothing is required. All of this to say, we need to be savvy consumers, and you need to recognize that, again, just because it's out there and it's been put out on the shelves, it is not unnecessarily undergone any approval or safety studies. Dietary supplements are not drugs. They're regulated completely differently than our OTC products, which are drugs, our cough and cold or allergy or pain medicines. But dietary supplements are considered what we call special foods by the FDA. So if we think about the FDA, they regulate food and drug. And so there's some sort of affiliation with the FDA because these fall under the special food category. There are a lot of claims that we'll see with dietary supplements. You might see products with claims on them that might seem like they're claiming to treat or prevent or cure an illness. But if we take a closer look, they're really just trying to tiptoe around the topic while still following the law. So be cognizant of that when you are looking at your supplement products or trying to decide whether or not to take a product. Here's an example. A dietary supplement product can claim that it may help support your immune system. That's pretty simple and does not give us a lot of detail. But for some, they could interpret this as saying it's going to treat my cold because I need my immune system to help fight off a cold or other illnesses. Whenever a claim like this is on a dietary supplement, it has to be accompanied by a disclaimer from the FDA that says that they have not evaluated the claim. So whenever you see one of those claims, you want to look for this FDA warning, or make sure that you look for this warning before trying to determine whether or not a claim seems to be valid. So this warning from the FDA that you'll see on products says these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. I don't know how often folks will actually see this or have actually looked for it. Though it is in a box and it's on every product, it's not necessarily going to be the thing that manufacturers put front and center under the name of their product. So it's always important to read the label, always important to look at those bottles and make sure that we are going in with a critical eye when trying to decide how to manage our vitamins and supplements. So let's look at a few examples of some of these claims. So here is a simple product, Healthy Fiber, and they say that it improves regularity and growth of beneficial bacteria. You'll see it has an asterisk, and I can just sort of guarantee you that asterisk brings us over to that FDA warning that they have not assessed these claims. So we'll see here, it says it improves regularity. So someone might interpret that to say it's going to help my constipation. That may or may not be the case. And since this is a food and not a drug product, we cannot say with any certainty that these claims are true. Here's another one, a biotin supplement. Here it says it helps support healthy hair, skin, and nails and provides energy support. So again, keep your eye out for these claims and then look for that FDA warning. The last one here is a glucosamine and chondroitin combination product. And this says it cushions the joints and supports movement or helps promote healthy cartilage. So folks might look at this and say, that's going to be good for my joints, or it might help my arthritis. And that's not necessarily true, but you can get an idea of how these manufacturers are pretty savvy, and they are trying to tiptoe around and say, oh, we know folks are going to look for this when they have these certain joint problems, or they may have arthritis or something like that. So what keywords can we use to draw their attention and pull them in? Some concerns we have with dietary supplements. First, incorrect labeling. So because they do not undergo the same testing and regulation that other over-the-counter drugs do, the amount of the ingredient on the label could be incorrect. That could mean there's more product than they say there is. There's less product than they say there is. Maybe even none. So something could say this has 200 milligrams of glucosamine and it really has none in it, because there's no regulation to keep that consistent from product to product, from pill to pill, from bottle to bottle. Contamination is another concern. Products might be contaminated with other ingredients, contaminated with impurities or things that we wouldn't want in our drug products or in our dietary supplements. Quality is another concern. So depending on the product and the manufacturer, the ingredients might say they're natural, but they could be made in a lab or they could be sourced naturally. And these claims and or origination of these products, again, not regulated by the FDA, we have no way of really knowing if what they're claiming or what they're putting on that label is actually true. So overall, the main thing I want you to keep in mind is that dietary supplements are not always risk-free. So what are some questions that we can ask ourselves when deciding if we should take a product or not? Looking at some of those claims, does the claim sound too good to be true? It probably is, unfortunately. But that's something to keep in mind. If it sounds like it's going to be a miracle cure or a miracle drug, ask yourself why everyone isn't always already taking it if it's such a miracle, right? If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. Keep in mind that food is better than pills. So whenever possible, it's best to get your vitamins and minerals and nutrients from your diet. So supplements, which are often available as pills, are available if you can't get enough of a particular nutrient in your diet, but your diet and changing the foods and balancing your meals should always be the first step to make sure that you're getting the appropriate amount of certain vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in your diet. Did you talk to your provider? That's your next question to ask. It's important that you're talking to your provider, so your doctor, prescriber, nurse practitioner, or a pharmacist, to discuss certain things like, why do you actually want to start on this supplement? What is your concern, or what ailment are you trying to treat? Review the medicines that you're currently taking to make sure that there won't be any interactions. We might think that these things are claiming to be natural, or they're things that are found in food. How could it possibly interact with a medicine I'm on or with a disease state that I have? But because these products can contain multiple things, and because we need to make sure we're selecting appropriate products, there's always a chance that we could be taking too much, or there could be some interactions. We know that some drugs have interactions with certain foods. And so if we're taking supplements of things that are found in foods, we can then summarize that there's a potential that there could be some interactions as well. We also want to make sure that if there's an ailment you think you have that you need a treatment for, that it's not something more serious. So always important to talk to a provider or pharmacist before just self-treating or providing yourself with an additional supplement that may or may not be warranted. Next, ask yourself, did you read the warnings? So not just that FDA warning that we talked about where they don't validate those claims, but there can be warnings on dietary supplements and vitamins that tell you whether or not you should take caution if you have certain conditions, certain health conditions, or if you've had certain surgeries, or if you're on certain medications. Some of those products will provide a warning. So keep an eye out for those. Then ask yourself, do I have enough already? If you're trying to supplement a vitamin or a nutrient, you may already be getting enough of it in your diet. Our bodies can only absorb certain amounts of certain vitamins and nutrients at a time. So if you're already eating a breakfast with a lot of calcium and you're taking a calcium supplement at the same time, that could be a waste. Often with certain vitamins and minerals, you will just excrete the rest through your urine if you take too much. But there are some vitamins that can stick around a lot longer and don't get excreted through the urine very quickly. So taking too much can be harmful. So if you're already getting enough in your diet, or maybe you take a multivitamin that contains some of these vitamins and nutrients and minerals already, purchasing or taking another supplement might not be warranted. And that's where I'll draw you back to our previous questions of talking to your provider, talking to your pharmacist to look through the medicines you take, talk through what your diet normally looks like to see if it's something that's actually warranted. If you're going to select a product, ask yourself, do I know how much to actually take? Make sure that you're following appropriate recommendations for the dosing. So whether that comes from the bottle and the manufacturer, or it comes from your pharmacist or your provider who has done a better job at assessing what you are actually in need of. Again, taking too much of something, even if it's available over the counter, even if it's available without needing a prescription, can still be dangerous. And in older adults, sometimes that harm can be worse. It also could be more dangerous in some people that have certain medical conditions or if they're taking other medications. So bottom line, make sure you're talking to someone because more is not necessarily better. So you've talked to your doctor or pharmacist, or you have decided that based on what you've learned today, that you do want to start on this vitamin or supplement product. So how do you select it? I'll provide a couple pictures here that are really just the bare minimum of how overwhelming some of these pharmacy shelves can feel at the drugstore. So what are some considerations? As we've mentioned, vitamins and supplements do not undergo FDA approval the way that over-the-counter drug products do. The US government has almost no control over supplement manufacturers. They don't have to be proven safe and effective, and their benefits are often overstated because they're trying to market those products. One good thing, it is illegal for them to make claims that they treat diseases, but that's not always reviewed by regulatory agencies. So keeping an eye on some of those claims. Something you can look for is USP verification. USP is the United States Pharmacopoeia, and they are a third-party organization that tests different products. And so a manufacturer or can take their specific product and have it undergo voluntary review. So if someone is saying, yeah, I think it's okay for my product to be tested by this third party, chances are that's a pretty good indicator that they believe they are using safe practices, that their product contains what they say it does. And what the USP verification will look for is reviewing the manufacturing, the quality control, and their documentation. They'll do lab testing of samples of those products and supplements. And then they also do what they call off-the-shelf testing, or we could think of it as post-marketing review of the product, where they test those products and take it off the shelf once it's already out there to confirm that these products continue to meet the science-based quality standards that they found in the manufacturing reviews. So it's an ongoing thing as well. If you see a product that has a USP verified mark on the dietary supplement, the product contains the ingredients that are listed on the label, and it contains them in the declared potency, which is our strength or like number of milligrams, and the amounts that are in there are accurate. The USP website says that having that USP verification helps assure customers are getting the value that they expect from a product that they're purchasing. Additionally, USP verification ensures that products do not contain harmful levels of other contaminants. It also makes sure that the product will break down and release into the body within a specified amount of time, which seems kind of unique. But the reason we're concerned about this is that if a supplement doesn't break down properly, you can't get the full benefit of the product. So it might contain the 500 milligrams it says it contains, but if it doesn't break down to get absorbed and used, what good does it do you? So they also check for things that we didn't know as a consumer that you may need them to check for. It also verifies that the product has been made according to FDA current, what we call good manufacturing practices, and that they are using sanitary and well-controlled procedures. All things that I want out of a product that I'm putting in my body. So here on the top right is the picture of what the USP verified stamp looks like. You'll see that in a little smaller, but it'll be on products that have that USP certification. There are over 100 different dietary supplements and formulas that have received that mark from multiple brands and multiple retailers. I've included a few over on the side. The two that I think are easiest to find, maybe the Nature's Made and the Kirkland's Signature brand. And that is the one that's found at Costco. That's our Costco brand. But a few others over on the right, Members Mark, may be something that we see more often as well. But if you head to the USP website, you can find lists of different vitamins, minerals, multivitamins, and other dietary supplements that have received that verification. And it includes the specific brand, the manufacturer, the name of the product, the amount, and even the formulation. So if it's a capsule or a pill or whatever it might be, every individual product needs its own stamp. So you can't just necessarily say if there's one nature-made product that has that verification, all of them do. It's each individual product, each individual dose, each individual tablet or capsule formulation of that product. Here's your reminder to check out those warning labels. So hopefully you'll be able to see this just to get an idea, but know that when you're looking at a label, the supplement facts will show you the intended ingredients, their amounts, and what that recommended serving size is. And again, it's indicated as a serving size because these are considered foods rather than drugs. And the caution can also be noted on the back of these labels, where you can see if there's any concern with other chronic conditions or concerns with other medications. And then I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about media attention surrounding vitamins and supplements. So though it's not strictly related to dietary supplements, television advertising is an interesting topic. So just as the government has no control over the products themselves, there's also limited control relating to the advertising and the claims made by these manufacturers that can happen on television advertising. So direct to consumer advertising, which would be you seeing a commercial on television or you receiving something in the mail. Not something that goes through your doctor or prescriber or pharmacy, but going direct to the consumer. The United States is one of only 2 countries, besides New Zealand is the other one of only 2 countries in the entire world that allows direct to consumer advertising for pharmaceutical products. So it's something we've grown to be used to and almost expect. Dietary supplements don't always fall into this exact category, but it's something that, since we're used to seeing it so regularly, we may not think twice when we're presented with a dietary supplement ad because we're used to seeing ads for prescription drugs all the time. So it's important that we are critically assessing those product labels and advertisements when we see them. And we can put these two things together because for a lot of our dietary supplements, they will put their advertising or marketing claims right on the label. So we want to be aware of exaggerated claims, bold promotions, miracle stories, things that maybe state how many products they've sold. Think of it this way. Does your allergy medicine need to tell you how many products they've sold? The drug speaks for itself, right? And so if taking this product cannot provide the results they need it to, they're going to rely on some of these claims and say, oh, there's millions of other people who buy this product. Does that necessarily mean it's right for you? Maybe, maybe not. Also be aware of statements that contain really complicated words or illogical concepts. So think critically. Here's one example, Prevagen, which they say it improves memory. Here, I'll read this to you. It says, Prevagen is clinically shown to help with mild memory problems associated with aging. It's safe and clinically tested ingredients, only 1 capsule per day, full 30-day supply. But then it says here, Prevagen contains apoaquarin, which uniquely supports brain function. In a computer-assessed, double-blinded, placebo-controlled clinical study, Prevagen improves certain aspects of cognitive function over a 90-day period. So it almost to me sounds like I'm reading all the disclaimers at the end of a drug commercial or something. But even as a scientist, even as a pharmacist, as an educator, some of this is a lot for me to digest. I note here that there's some complicated words, technical terms, too much detail for the bottle of a product, and information that may or may not make sense. There's words in here I don't know, the ingredients they're talking about that I'm not even familiar with. They say things like clinically tested or describing the type of trial they did or clinically proven, but we don't quite know what that means. We don't know what the study was, how many people were in it. So just having a critical eye, just because something says this doesn't really mean anything. And the fact that they feel like they have to promote their product in that way is also something that should cause us to take a step back and look at it a little more critically. We also want to be aware of or question any evidence or facts that are promoted as clinically proven, shown to do this, tested to do that. We don't know how they tested it or what their methods were. We also want to know whether or not it's recommended by certain folks, and that can be a little concerning when that comes up on a label. So here's an example of Athro 7, a healthy joint support, which it says is clinically proven results within 2 weeks. What results? And how did they decide that? Over 8 million sold. That's a bit of a warning. It shows us here that bone and joint health and all these things it claims it can do and is clinically proven to do, even says it's doctor recommended. But what I want to know is, who is this guy? What are his credentials? Who is this doctor? And just because it's doctor recommended or pharmacist recommended doesn't mean that all doctors and all pharmacists recommend it. So again, another example of how we need to be looking at these things critically. If you're curious, we looked into it, and this doctor who recommends this product is a foot doctor. So that kind of checks out if we're looking at joints. He's also a naturopath. So he may or may not have an invested interest in whether or not we would use some of these products. So additionally, it may be doctor recommended, but does that doctor know you? Do they know your health history? Do they know your particular concerns? That is the thing that I think is most important. There are a lot of folks out there who used to swear by whatever Dr. Oz recommended, but Dr. Oz doesn't know you. He doesn't know your specific health history. Talking to someone who does is really the best way to get the best care for yourself. Additionally, we want to note that more doesn't always mean better. So look at this product here, 18 herbs, vitamins, and minerals, including 900 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid. So 18 herbs, minerals, and vitamins. Do we really need all of those? What are they? Do they all have a purpose? We often want to try to avoid mixture products or combination products because if you have a side effect, it could be difficult to distinguish what actually caused that side effect. They also had something on here that says clinical strength. So remember, dietary supplements are not drugs. So saying clinical strength, it may be trying to get you to believe that it's equivalent to an actual drug that's meant to treat or prevent whatever this product is claiming to do as well. So just be wary of certain phrases like this and assess those ingredients and know if they have an actual intended purpose that is something you actually need. More is not always better. A couple more examples to look at just some claims. So this green coffee extract or pure green coffee was all the rage for a while, and they claimed that it would promote weight loss. But what actually happened, we know it's not FDA approved, and in some studies, they show that it actually increased insulin resistance, and that is something that can sometimes even lead to weight gain. Another thing they're not promoting on this bottle is that Pure Green Coffee, which is a particular brand, had recently settled a $9 million lawsuit with the Federal Trade Commission for false claims. So does it sound too good to be true? It may be. Here's another one, and weight loss products seem to be a common one that comes up, but that's what they try to get the community engaged with because it's something that socially folks tend to want. So Garcinia, Cambogia also said that they could promote weight loss, but in actuality, they did a study in 1998 that showed there's no significant difference in weight loss compared to placebo, which is a sugar pill. And then another one here, raspberry ketones. You may remember hearing about those. They said they could promote weight loss and it was a fat burner, but in actuality, there's not enough scientific data to support any of these claims. And it had some additional concerns in folks who took it with diabetes, high blood pressure, COPD, and asthma. And lastly is red palm oil, which is a vitamin E supplement. They claim that they promote longevity and helps prevent dementia and Alzheimer's disease. They can't actually claim that, and there was no significant difference found in the probability of progressing to Alzheimer's disease in those who were studied after taking this. So again, the bottom line, dietary supplements, not risk-free. And lastly, we'll look at a few specific supplements and whether or not you should really be taking anything simply because of your age. So we do know there are 13 essential vitamins, A, C, D, E, K, and then multiple B vitamins, which gets us up to our 13. They all do different things for our bodies. They help our bodies function properly. They help your immune system resist infection. They keep your nerves healthy, help you get the appropriate energy from your food by helping it absorb, and they help your blood clot appropriately. So we need to keep in mind that there are some essential vitamins, but as we talked about before, you're getting most of these from your diet. Minerals are another concern. So they also help your body function. They can be found on the earth or in foods. Some that we need, as just all humans need in larger quantities, are calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Examples of a couple others that we only need in small amounts are iodine and fluoride. Again, most people get enough of these by eating a balanced, varied diet. But how does aging come into play? So as we age, our diets often change. Sometimes your activity decreases and that can decrease your appetite. So a lot of different things can impact it, but also just physiologically, we see changes in our body that may change our diets or may change how well we absorb different medications or nutrients. So older adults might need more of some certain vitamins and minerals than younger folks do. But ultimately, my recommendation will be to speak with your provider or a dietitian who can give you specific recommendations for your individual health needs and health goals. But in general, there are some things that many older adults can consider, and we'll talk about those today. So we'll take a look here at a few specific vitamins and minerals. First is calcium. So we may be familiar with this. It helps keep your bones strong, which is an important thing at any age, but especially as we get older when we're trying to help prevent fractures and making sure that we know it's not just calcium, but along with other medicines or other lifestyle habits or a bone healthy lifestyle, it can help prevent our fractures. But calcium can sometimes be difficult to get in your diet, especially if you are lactose intolerant, or maybe just have some sensitivity to dairy products, or if you are vegan, because a majority of calcium from our diet comes from animal products like dairy. Most older adults would benefit from a calcium supplement, and it's not likely that there would be any adverse effects from someone taking a calcium supplement. The number one side effect we see with calcium supplements is upset stomach or perhaps some constipation. But if you're taking it at a recommended amount, most of the time we can avoid those things. So our recommended daily intake of calcium is based on your age and sex. And this is the total that comes from both your diet and if you were to take supplements. So for men who are age 70 and younger, they need 1,000 milligrams per day. And then once men reach age 70, over age 70, they need 1,200 milligrams per day. Women, again, need 1,000 milligrams per day if they're 50 and younger. But once they reach age 50, they should be getting 1,200 milligrams per day. And again, this is a combination of what you get from your diet and what you would get from any supplement that you would take. The maximum amount is about 2,000 milligrams per day. So our body cannot absorb more than that. Though it's pretty uncommon, you could see some higher likelihood of side effects as we increase to that higher limit. Next, we'll look at vitamin D. So vitamin D can be found in some foods, but it's kind of limited where we get the majority of that vitamin D. We can get vitamin D2 or D3. D2 comes from mostly our plant-sourced foods, and D3 is from our animal-sourced foods. But the other way we get vitamin D is that your body makes vitamin D when it's exposed to sunlight. A couple of concerns here, though. That can be pretty difficult in the Pacific Northwest, especially during those winter months. And we need to balance the benefit of the vitamin D from sunlight with the risks of things like skin cancer from sun UV exposure. So we also see difficulty if you have limited mobility. You might not be able to get outside as frequently. And that's where vitamin D supplementation can help out. So adults age 70 and younger should get 600 units of vitamin D per day. And adults age 70, over age 70 should get at least 800 units per day. If you have a diagnosis of osteoporosis, though, many organizations will recommend 1,000 to 2,000 units per day. Most adults will benefit from a vitamin D supplement. It's really unlikely that you will take too much vitamin D, but we do need to make sure that your healthcare team knows what you're taking and how much. The maximum vitamin D we say is about 4,000 per day. There are some prescription products out there that will have tens of thousands of units per day, units per pill, and that is usually only taken once a week or once a month, and it releases more slowly in the body and lasts a little bit longer. So if you happen to be on one of those products, don't be worried that it's over the 4,000 per day because you're not taking it every single day. And then we'll look at B vitamins. So there are a lot of different B vitamins out there, and all of them are important. There's a handful of them that fall under those essential vitamins that our bodies need. But vitamin B12 is one that I think is important to look at. It helps keep our red blood cells and nerves healthy. And most adults need about 2.4, what we call mcg, which is micrograms per day. And that amount does not change with age the way that calcium and vitamin D recommendations do. However, some older adults may be absorbing less vitamin B12. So you might have been fine before with the amounts that you got in your diet, and now maybe you are absorbing less of it. So the amount that gets into your bloodstream is less than it was before. We have folks will have a higher risk of a B12 deficiency if they're vegetarian or vegan. Because our B12 is only found in animal products or in foods that are specially fortified with B12. So that just means that they added vitamin B12 to foods, but they're not super easy to come by. Additionally, vitamin B12 needs acid from the stomach to be properly absorbed into your body. So if you take a medicine for acid reflux, or if you have GERD and you take something to reduce the amount of acid in your stomach, you might need a little more B12 because it's not being absorbed appropriately. So again, talk to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist to get an idea of whether these are going to be appropriate for you. And lastly, things to ask yourself before you pick up a vitamin or supplement product, just to recap. Why am I taking this product? Have I talked to my provider or my pharmacist about it? Is it possible that this product could interfere with my other medications or my other diagnoses? Is this product worth the cost? Is this product safe, and how do I know? And that's where we look for the USP verification. If you're wanting more information, you can check out a few of these sources that I think are super helpful. One is the Office of Dietary Supplements. That's part of the National Institutes of Health. And then while you're there, you can head on over to the aging portion to get a little more information. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, has a Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, which can provide additional information. And then the USP, the United States Pharmacopoeia, their website will have information about USP verified products. So at this time, I'm happy to take some questions. I think we had a couple in the chat that I will glance at here. So someone just said, what about K2? So I'm assuming they mean vitamin K. So vitamin K is one of our essential vitamins. We do need to be especially careful with vitamin K for folks who may be on a certain blood thinner, warfarin, or the brand name Coumadin, because that one can directly interact with vitamin K. So the key there is just consistency. So not abruptly starting or abruptly stopping the amount of vitamin K that you get. As far as like individual, I can't necessarily answer blanketly like who needs supplementation or certain ones like that. But knowing that that list of essential vitamins is important, but if you are getting an appropriate amount of it from your diet, taking a supplement of it is not necessarily warranted. So they're saying, does someone really need vitamin K? It is an essential nutrient, but the chances are you're getting the appropriate amount in your diet. And then here we have, can you make sure to discuss what a serving size means and how this can skew the true cost of a supplement? For example, if it says take 4 tablets to get 500 milligrams versus 1 tablet to get 500 milligrams. Okay, so when you're looking at the cost of a supplement, that's a great question. Rather than just looking at the cost for the number of pills, I think it's important to look at like cost per milligram or cost per dose. So a dose could be 500 milligrams, but it may take 4 tablets to get there. So you'd want to look at what's the cost of 4 tablets, which is 1 dose, to be able to compare it appropriately to other products. In the same way that let's say you go to the grocery store, and there's 4 packages of blueberries and they're all different sizes. You don't look at the cost per package. You look at maybe the cost per ounce in that package of blueberries to get a better idea of how to compare them. So we're not looking at, apples to Corvettes. You're looking at apples and apples. Oh, I missed a question here about vitamin K. What foods have vitamin K in them? The main things I think of with vitamin K are leafy green vegetables. So like lettuces, kale, broccoli, those all tend to have a lot of vitamin K in them. But there's a lot of resources on the internet that give you other examples of foods with vitamin K, but those are sort of our go-to. Next, we had someone ask, do we need probiotics? That's a tough one to kind of give a blanket yes or no for the general population. There are some folks who could benefit from it. There are some providers who will say they're not necessary. So that's kind of an individualized recommendation. A lot of pharmacists I know will recommend a probiotic if you get a prescription for an antibiotic, just to keep that balance of good and bad bacteria. But I don't know that it's necessary to recommend it for everyone across the board. That's something that if you're, I would say, think back about what we talked about. Why do you think you need this product? What about the supplement or what about this product are you trying to treat? Is it because you're having some gut issues or you're having some stomach concerns? that might be something to talk to your provider about rather than just self-treating, or talk to your doctor. They could refer you to a specialist or something who will give you a better idea. And that's where I say be careful and cautious about what they're claiming. It's going to help regularity. So are you irregular? Is that something that we need to address rather than just saying, yes, we should take a probiotic because other people take probiotics? I did receive a couple of private messages here that asking if the School of Pharmacy has dietitians. So the School of Pharmacy does not have dietitians. If you are a resident at Era Living, there are different consultations available with different schools of from the health sciences. I'm not a dietitian specifically, but there are folks at the University of Washington or in the hospitals or clinics that they may be able to direct you to. Someone asked, what do you recommend if you commonly experience upset stomach with multivitamins or with specific ones? So that's a great question. With a lot of these products, taking them with food can help, but you need to be cautious because some products should not be taken with food because that's where we start to see some interactions. So if a multivitamin upsets your stomach, some of them can be broken in half or cut in half. Ask your pharmacist about that. You could take half in the morning and half in the evening, and that can help. And most of the time, the multivitamins, taking it with some food in your stomach first, and then the multivitamin will be helpful. As far as it's asked here or specific ones, and I'm not quite sure what that question is, but there are a lot of specific multivitamins that have that USP verification, and those are listed on the USP website. To give you an idea of which ones I would recommend. There are not necessarily certain multivitamins that are going to be easier or harder on the stomach necessarily. And so using those tips I suggested of cutting in half or taking with food can be helpful. Any top foods you think everyone should eat to help with a balanced diet? That's difficult. Everyone kind of has a different needs, but in general, one of the things that's suggested would be following the My Plate method. And what that does is it gives you a balance of vegetables, fruits, grains, and proteins. That food pyramid is real old school at this point in time and not really the best way that we want to go about having what we'll call a healthy, balanced diet. The My Plate method. So if you look at a plate, like a standard 9-inch dinner plate, we say about half should be vegetables, a quarter of it protein, a quarter of it carbs or grains, and then a fruit on the side and a milk on the side is just kind of our general way of looking at it. Half a plate of vegetables can be kind of hard for folks who maybe don't have a lot of them. So the best you can do to get a little bit more of those things in your diet would be good. So I think vegetables, fruits, grains, and protein, having a balance there would be good. Question here. Have you heard of a muscle test to see how you absorb vitamins? I am not familiar with that. That does not mean it doesn't exist or doesn't have validity, but I'm not the best one to answer that question. So I apologize. And then please discuss turmeric for inflammation of fibromyalgia, the amount needed daily for a senior. So I'm at this point in time, I'm going to avoid any specific recommendations since turmeric is not an essential vitamin or anything like that, where we have recommended amounts that we must get in our diet. It's more of a supplemental thing, but there are, if you want to talk to your pharmacist specifically or to your doctor, they can find those, the studies that have been done and the claims of turmeric and the benefits it may or may not have. The other things I would suggest you look into if you're going to start something like that would be looking at the cost. So there are often prescription medications that are going to give you a lot more bang for your buck versus, how much turmeric would you have to take in order to get the anti-inflammation benefit? And is it worth that cost if we know we have a prescription product that might help that has undergone a lot of studies and safety and has proven to be effective? That's not to say that these other products won't help. It's just whether or not they've undergone appropriate studies and are safe to take. This question, I think it's maybe canned vegetables versus fresh. So what I say when it comes to vegetables and fruits and food like that, fresh is best, frozen is our next best option, and canned after that. Canned vegetables are still vegetables, and that's a great way to get vegetables. You've always got them around. They may be easier to get and less expensive. What I recommend with canned vegetables is rinsing them because they often contain a little extra salt or sodium just to keep them preserved in the can. But if you have canned vegetables are easier for you to get and they're more cost effective, great, use them. Just rinse them off before you eat them. I think I got most of those questions. Is there anything else you can type in the chat, or if you aren't able to do that or you want to unmute yourself, I'm happy to take any additional questions, but I do think we're close to time here. So anything else?
Thanks, Abby. While we wait to see if there are any other last questions that come in, I'll just mention that it's really common. A lot of people think of questions too after the webinar. Oh, shoot, I wish I'd asked that. So no worries if that's the case. Two things I'll address there. We will follow up with a survey to ask for your feedback, to share a little information about the event. You can share any questions maybe in that survey if you didn't get them answered today. And we're happy to do follow-up calls because we know there were a lot of people on this call today. This is a very popular topic, and I'm sure you'll think of some later. And so we'll be able to get those questions from you, and then we can forward those questions to Abby and get the answers back to you if that's the case. So I'll pause for a second, though, to see if there's anybody that has taken their microphone off mute and maybe would like to ask a question to Abby directly. Okay, I think, yes, Abby, thank you. You fielded quite a few questions there. There's so many, and we are pretty much at time. So I think we'll go ahead and conclude there. Thanks again so much for such an informative presentation. I learned a lot of great information too. And please look for those surveys to come to you, all of our guests, by the end of the day today. And if you do have any questions for the Gardens at Town Square specifically, you can reach us at 425-688-1900. So thanks so much again for attending. Again, I'm Joan Rettman, Area Community Relations Director at the Gardens at Town Square. Thanks again to Abby, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.